Welcome back to EtherLink AI Insights. I'm Alex, and today we're diving into something that's keeping a lot of European executives up at night: the EU AI Act and how ready, or not ready, enterprises actually are for 2026 compliance. Sam, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Alex. This is genuinely one of the most important regulatory shifts we've seen in tech. What's striking is that 73% of European enterprises admit they don't have the governance maturity to meet these requirements. That's not a small number. That's most of the market scrambling.
73% is honestly staggering. So when we talk about EU AI Act readiness and governance maturity, what are we really talking about? Is this just a compliance checkbox exercise, or is there something deeper here?
It's definitely deeper. Governance maturity isn't just about ticking boxes for regulators. It's about building organizational capability to manage AI responsibly. Think of it as the difference between having a fire extinguisher in your office versus actually having a fire safety program. The EU Act forces you to move from reactive firefighting to proactive risk management.
That's a great analogy. And I imagine the stakes are real if you get it wrong. What happens to organizations that don't comply?
The financial penalties are substantial, up to $30 million or 6% of global annual revenue, whichever is higher. But honestly, the fines are almost secondary to the operational and reputational damage. A 2024 Deloitte survey found that 68% of C-suite executives in Europe already view AI governance as a top 3 business risk. They're worried, and they should be.
So if I'm leading an enterprise right now, what's my first step? How do I even assess where we stand?
That's where the maturity framework becomes invaluable. There's a 5-level progression that most organizations can use to self-assess. You've got Level 1, which is basically chaotic. No formal governance, AI deployed ad hoc, compliance is whatever happens after a problem. Level 2 is slightly better. You've got basic policies, but you're still mostly reacting to regulations.
And most European companies are where in that spectrum?
Most are hovering at Level 2 or Level 3. Level 3 is where you've got documented frameworks, real risk assessments, monitoring tools, and an actual incident response plan. That's not trivial, but it's still somewhat reactive. The real magic happens at Level 4, optimized governance, where you've got integrated systems across business units, continuous monitoring, and automated risk detection.
How long does it take to get to Level 4? Is that a multi-year transformation, or can you actually move quickly?
For a mid-market organization, we're talking 12 to 18 months. That's realistic if you're committed and you have executive sponsorship. Level 5 is aspirational. That's self-healing governance systems with built-in controls and predictive compliance. You might not need to go there immediately, but Level 4 is where sustainable competitive advantage emerges, especially with 2026 deadline looming.
Okay, so I'm convinced I need to move. What should I actually measure? How do I know if my governance is getting better?
There are 5 concrete dimensions. First, risk assessment capability. How quickly can you evaluate the risk profile of a new AI project? The target is under 30 days. Second, compliance automation. What percentage of your compliance checks are actually automated rather than manual? You want 70% or higher.
That's interesting. You're saying most of this can be automated?
Absolutely. If you're still doing compliance checks manually for every AI project, you're not scaling. The third metric is incident response time. How quickly can you detect and fix AI-related issues? Target is under 24 hours. Fourth, stakeholder alignment. You need legal, security, data, operations, and ethics all at the table. And fifth, model monitoring. Ideally, 100% of your production AI systems should be under continuous surveillance.
So if I'm scoring poorly on these metrics, what's my playbook? Where do I actually start?
Start with an honest assessment. Most organizations below 50% on these metrics need foundational governance work before they can safely deploy high-risk AI. That means you probably shouldn't be rolling out new AI agents or autonomous decision-making systems until the foundation is solid. The EU Act specifically targets high-risk applications, recruitment, credit assessment, law enforcement, critical infrastructure. Those need conformity assessments, documentation, monitoring, and human oversight built in from day one.
That sounds like it could slow innovation, though. Isn't there a tension between moving fast and being compliant?
There's a perception of tension, but I'd argue it's actually the opposite. Organizations that build governance into their process from the start move faster long-term because they're not spending months in remediation or dealing with security incidents. The compliance framework becomes a launching pad, not a barrier. You're not choosing between speed and safety, you're choosing whether to build right the first time or pay for it later.
That's a compelling reframing. So for listeners who are leading enterprises in Europe, what's the one thing they should do this week?
Schedule a governance maturity assessment. Be honest about where you are on that 5-level scale. Get your legal, security, and data teams in a room and agree on your current state and your target state. Then map a 12 to 18-month roadmap. The organizations that start now will have breathing room before 2026. The ones that wait until 2025 will be scrambling.
Great advice. And for folks who want to dive deeper into the maturity framework, the specific metrics, and practical implementation steps, head over to etherlink.ai. You'll find the full article on EU AI Act Readiness and Governance Maturity. Thanks for being here, Sam.
Thanks for having me, Alex. This is too important to ignore, and I think more executives need to be thinking about it strategically rather than tactically.
Absolutely. That's it for this episode of EtherLink AI Insights. We'll be back soon with more on AI governance, compliance, and strategy for enterprise leaders. Thanks for listening.